Hey everyone, Cargo Bike Cowboy here. Just out for a ride. Ain't made a video in a while. Just sitting here at the park by the water, just watching the water. Been seeing on the news a lot and reading articles about the homeless population in the United States growing. And they say like California's got like 170,000 homeless people, like a third of all the homeless in the United States. You know, it's getting worse other places. And I work at an extended stay hotel, and I gotta tell you, even in the small community where I live, it's getting pretty bad. I'm seeing a lot of, families with children. They're coming there to stay at the extended stay because you can pay week by week, and you got a kitchen and all that. And if you choose it, that's one thing. But if you lose what you got, and that's all you got, and a lot of people, I think it might be their own fault because they didn't pay their rent during COVID, and they sat on their ass not paying their rent. Now landlords are evicting people. But the biggest problem is, once you get an eviction, I don't know where you live, but where I live, like, it's got to be, like, when you try to apply for an apartment and you have an eviction, it has to be 10 years old. It can't be any newer than 10 years or you can't rent a place. So if a person gets evicted and then they end up can't get another apartment, can't rent a house because they can't pass these credit and background checks or whatever, then they end up, in an extended stay hotel, and that's $400 or $500 a week. And then if their hours get cut at work, because a lot of the places around here right now are cutting back hours, and so these people can't afford it. I mean, if you think about $500 a week, average of 4 weeks in a month, that's $2,000 just for a hotel room. I mean, it's a place to stay, and you got a bathroom, a bed, cable TV, Wi-Fi, all that, but it's breaking them, and especially people with kids. So we got a huge problem going on in this country right now, and it's not going to get any better. And if you live in one of those communities where there's a lot of homeless people, and like, let's say you're a homeowner, but you got, these tent cities set up all around you, I'm sure that, it's not a great feeling, especially after you've worked hard and paid for your home, and now all of a sudden you're surrounded by the homeless. And let's talk about that. I mean, the word homeless, first of all, I think is stupid, because I don't believe there can be anybody that's homeless. The earth is home to every creature that lives on it. If you want to call them houseless or dwellingless or, nomadic people, but homeless, that's just a stupid title to give people. It's a stupid label. And if you want to know why, what I believe, why people set up like tent cities and little shanties and stuff, it's because, where was your training? All the years you went to school, just basic public school, and you were taught to get a job, get a house. When you grew up, maybe your parents, owned a home. Maybe you just lived in apartments, I don't know. But like my parents, we'll use my family. We had a house. They rented for a long time. Then eventually they got a house, and we grew up in a house. But there's no training for homelessness. No, there's no class that you're given where if you fall on your ass, something happens, and anything can happen to anyone. It's not always somebody's fault that they end up homeless. Maybe the rent goes up, and wages have never kept up with growth. We all know this. We all see it. And maybe this person is already working, 40 hours at their job, and they can't get a second job, or they don't, it's only them, and they're just barely scraping by. So, but you're never trained for that. There's no class in high school to prepare you for homelessness. I mean, you could get injured and lose your job, and all of a sudden you're out on the fucking streets and you're injured. And not every homeless person has a drug or alcohol problem. A lot of them do, and a lot of them choose to live that way, and that's fine. Let them choose. It's their life. Let them choose what they want, because that's what life is. It's a series of choices. So don't always think that everybody that's homeless, hold on a second, is just a bum or a drug addict or an alcoholic. They only know one thing, and it's the box. Everybody lives in some type of box, whether it be an apartment, a hotel room, a house. It doesn't matter. It's a box. It's a box with a controlled environment, and that's what they know, because that's how they grew up. That's what they have been taught. So when they become homeless, they will go and get a tent usually and set up a tent, and then more people will, they'll meet more homeless people, and then they'll bring their tent. Pretty soon they got this little community and that they've set up, all trying to live together and help each other. But the problem with that is there's no public land set aside for people that fall down. There's nothing set aside for them. Other countries don't have homelessness. Like, I met a bunch of guys from Germany, and they said they don't have homeless people. You're not allowed to be homeless in Germany. But they have a government office that will give you a voucher to go to like a hostel, and they'll give you another voucher to get something to eat. So they take care of their citizens, and I'm not saying that would work in America, because I think too many people would take advantage, and there's just doesn't seem to be enough people working anymore. And that's kind of a weird thing too, but there's no training. These people don't understand once they become homeless that, you're now a nomadic person. You don't pitch a tent and build a little community. You might throw your tent down for the night, get in there in a sleeping bag, go to sleep, and then in the morning get up, pick that up, and put it in your backpack, put it on your bicycle, whatever you got, and you move on. And never sleep in the same place every night. You don't set up a community. They're not going to allow it. The powers that be are not going to have it. But that's why they do that, because they don't understand. They don't know anything else. I mean, if you think about our whole lives, you live in a box with a controlled environment. Then you got another box on wheels. You go out and get in that box with a controlled environment. You drive it to the next box, which is your place of employment if you have a job, where there's a controlled environment. So they go from box to box to box, back and forth, every day of their fucking lives, and that's what they know. That's all they know. Once they're put out on the street, they're like confused, I think. They're like, shit, what am I going to do? How do I do this? And the government agencies that are there to help, I mean, I guess some of them are probably helpful, but I think the majority, they're not helpful. They want you to do all this stuff and jump through all these hoops instead of just helping. In this winter in the United States, for most of us, from what I've seen and read and seen on the weather channels and on the internet and read about, it's going to be pretty bad for most of the country. It's going to be like extra cold, a lot of Arctic air, supposed to be a lot of snow. Not everywhere, but like only the most southern regions of the United States are going to be warm this year, I think. So if you see someone who's homeless, maybe you can find online a place where there's like some cheap wool blankets, like a military grade wool blanket would be good. I don't know how much they cost, but you could probably find them online. And maybe instead of buying that scratch-off ticket or skip a few cups of coffee at the coffee house, and maybe buy a blanket or two. And when you see someone who's homeless, don't give them money, because if they have an addiction, then they're going to just use it to further their addiction. You're not really helping them. You know, but if you give them a wool blanket, wool will keep you warm even when you're wet. You know, I'm thinking about making a series of videos to help the homeless how to stay warm and stuff, because I have a skill set in that. But remember, they're still human beings, so be kind. You know, I'm not saying you have to hand out 100 wool blankets, but maybe like if you work in a big office, you could, you know, put up a sign that says, you know, taking donations to buy wool blankets, you know, or hats or whatever for the homeless, and let people donate. You know, let them donate. I mean, you get 100 people, each giving $2. Now you got $200. You can go out and buy some blankets and hand them out to homeless people. Be kind, because that could be you. You never know. It could be you. I was homeless once, but it didn't bother me. I kind of enjoyed it because I like challenges. I'm not homeless anymore. I spent probably about 8 months to a year being homeless. But I had a car, I had a job, you know, I had a gym membership to take a shower, you know. So remember, when you see those people, don't judge them. Be kind, you know. And you can pick and choose. I mean, there's a lot of women with kids out there. Look for them. I mean, if you see a child that's homeless, I mean, come on, man. What if that were your kid? What if you had a kid, you and your wife died, and no one took him in and he became homeless? Wouldn't you want someone to help him without harming him in any way? So just remember, these people aren't always out there by choice. Not all of them are drug addicts. Not all of them are alcoholics. Not all of them are mentally ill. Sometimes shit just happens to people. So be kind. That's all I really got to say in today's video about the homeless. But it's a beautiful day. Glad to be out here by the river. Hope y'all are out there riding your bikes, taking hikes, going canoeing, whatever it is you enjoy, living your life and having a good time. I'm going to drink this coffee I made, and I'm signing out.